This is a world map, and this is where the Falkland Islands, also known as Islas Malvinas, are located on it. They are found in the South Atlantic Ocean on the east coast of the southern South American continent, and are made up of East Falkland, West Falkland, and 776 smaller islands. While the Falkland Islands have been known for their booming fishing industry, ample collection of wildlife, most notably penguins and sheep, and its overall large wealth, there is another thing that often comes to mind for many when thinking of the islands: the aptly named Falklands War. The Falklands War was an undeclared war held between the United Kingdom and Argentina for 10 weeks, which is about 2.5 months, or 74 days, beginning on April 2nd, 1982, and ending on June 14th, 1982. The battle was over the intense argument of who had the rights to the islands, which had been a heated topic for the course of centuries. The question of who has control of the land is usually answered by who, under what group, found the place and set up a colony there first in these kinds of situations, with the potential of subtle changes over time through the government. Unfortunately, the history of the Falklands Islands settlers has been a slightly confusing one. The islands have had a long history with the English, French, and Spanish, all of which insist their explorers have discovered the lands first. The first confirmed sighting or discovery of the islands was by Dutchman Sebald de Weert in 1600. He named the islands Sebald de Weert Islands, or Sebald Islands. But it's important to note that it has been widely speculated that an Englishman named John Davis found the islands even earlier, in 1592, during the Magellan expedition. The first colony said to have arrived in the Falklands Islands was in 1764 by a Frenchman named Louis-Antoine de Bougainville on East Falkland. He called the islands Îles Malouines, which is still used today as the French translation. While the French did not engage in the eventual war for the territory, they did express their support for the UK in its endeavours during the battle. The second group to arrive on the islands as a colony was part of British settlement in 1765, where they established a garrison at Port Egmont on Saunders Islands in West Falkland, completely unaware of the French's colony. Finally, the third group, the Spanish, came to the islands with the plan of colonization in 1767, after they had pressured Bougainville under the agreement of compensation for their colony. Additionally, giving the Spanish time to give the islands a new name, Islas Malvinas, which is still a widely popular name for the islands today, most used by Argentina. Decades later, on July 9, 1816, Argentina would gain independence from Spain and would prompt their involvement in the war. But how and why did all these groups do this? What was it that motivated the British and Argentina to go to war over the islands? The Falkland Islands had no natives before the 18th century, and their total mass is only about half the size of Wales. Still, both the British and Argentina not only had plans to own the lands for practicality reasons, as another territory they had governance over, but they considered the possibility of winning the war as a symbol of national pride. Other specific motivators were for geographical reasons and strategies of various kinds. The United Kingdom wanted the islands because they were already part of a large chain of lands the British had previously laid claim to, and noted that the islands would be a good stopping point for many maritime routes that connected the territories. On the other side, Argentina primarily wanted the islands to incite patriotism and promote their regimented plans through the help of a victorious invasion. Today, the British are still immensely proud of the outcome of the Falklands War, notably because their victory had not required any other allies' help to win. Argentina, however, has also not forgotten the loss from that war. Many Argentines are still upset about the aftermath of the Falklands War and intend to regain the islands back again. Argentinian Foreign Minister Santiago Cafiero describes it as an inalienable goal to recover the sovereignty for the Argentine people, and on the war's 40th anniversary, April 2nd, 2022, he posted a video on his Twitter about it with the caption, "The Malvinas were, are, and will be Argentine." The war's effects were indeed notable, with the battle itself costing over 900 lives in total, 255 of which British and 649 Argentine. Alongside that, the British lost 6 ships and 34 aircrafts to the conflict, while Argentina lost its only cruiser. The actual cost of the war has been said to have sat around $1.19 billion for the United Kingdom at the time of conflict, and Argentina's, having only been estimated and not confirmed yet due to little release to the public of the details, has been guessed to be roughly at least $3 billion, but it has been rumored to have been much more, and that Argentina may still have debts left over from the war. That wasn't all for Argentina, though. The loss of the war also brought increased protest, which is likely what led to Argentina's military being swept from power in 1983, restoring civilian rule. The United Kingdom also had some sociological effects after the war, be it much less intense. Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister at the time who had run the British side of the war's popularity increased nearly astronomically, bringing her Conservative Party to win the 1983 parliamentary elections with no difficulty. when Argentina's military under General Leopoldo Galtieri's command invaded the Falkland Islands on April 2, 1982, Margaret Thatcher responded at once by declaring a war zone for 320 kilometers, or about 198.84 miles, around the Falkland Islands, additionally sending 11,000 military personnel and over 100 ships to further solidify the war claim enacted. Despite Argentina's conscription that had been in place and their best efforts, they could not compare and lost the war. Interestingly, this was not the first time the United Kingdom had been threatened by invasion for the Falklands. Argentina, or rather at the time, Spain, had once before tried to intimidate the British colony on the islands in 1770 by sending 5 ships and over 1,000 Marines from the capital of Argentina, Buenos Aires, to Port Egmont to scare the colony into surrendering and returning to England. Clearly outnumbered, the British did in fact surrender, but as you may expect, it didn't last long, since Britain threatened war and the French refused to back Spain in the conflict, allowing the British colony to return to the Falklands once again, now placing a plaque at Port Egmont acknowledging the first British colony on the islands. They would stay there until 1774, when they would have to leave again due to the rebellion forming in North America, promising to return after it has been taken care of. Similar reasons of conflict in Europe would prevent Spain from overtaking the land the British colony previously occupied in the Falklands, due to having to evacuate their own colony as well. On the 15th of December 1823, Argentina and the United Kingdom established diplomatic relations with each other, meaning they would send representatives in each other's countries, helping to maximize the strengths and advantages of the countries as a group. Unsurprisingly, the diplomatic relationship was broken before the Falklands War in 1982, but was reinstated officially in Madrid on the 15th of February 1990. 17 years after the war, during July 1999 in London, the ban preventing Argentine passport holders from being able to visit the Falkland Islands unless they're relatives of people who died in the war was lifted. Other notable accessibility points the Falkland Islands have open to specific groups is Mount Pleasant Airport, which is a British Royal Air Force station, opened under Prince Andrew's command in May of 1985, helping to supply protection to the lands. But there's one more group we haven't spoken about: the residents of the Falkland Islands. Throughout all this, it seems the people of the islands have had no say in the outcomes of the battles. Well, actually, that's not true. During elections in the Falkland Islands, there is a vote held to see how many of the residents of the islands wish the islands would transfer sovereignty. The election in 2013 resulted in an over 90% turnout in support of the decision to stay part of the Commonwealth, concluding that even the people of the Falkland Islands comfortably consider themselves British. The Falkland Islands also experienced a major population boost after the war, in 1982 being at their lowest population point, then at once rising above the prior statistic in just the next year, and steadily going up since. 1985 to 1990 recordings of the population say they experienced a 2.86% increase, which was the first big recordings of the increase in population there. Before the war, there were about 1,800 to 1,820 people living on the islands. Now, as of January 19, 2023, there are 3,738. The Falkland Islands are a unique place, full of beautiful landmarks, history, and wildlife, standing as a well-known tourist attraction. It is often quite shocking to think about how there were, and potentially will be, battles over the peaceful lands. But regardless of your views on who you believe should have rights to the islands, many can agree that the lands are rich with beautiful nature that gives off a warm and calm feeling that can be appreciated regardless of politics.